What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So going into this next generation, there's a question that's been brought up a few times now, and that actually came down to game prices. Would game prices increase going into next generation, considering we've been spending $60 on games over the last 15 years? Well, thanks to 2K, yeah, it's 2K that's telling us this, 2K has now said that their next-gen games, the 2K21, NBA 2K21, will actually be more expensive than people were expecting. We're going to go over that today and what all of that could end up meaning. Also, Nintendo Direct rumors are back specifically for July, and we're going to go over where that's all coming from because it appears to be picking up steam online right now, and a lot of it has to do with the source that it's coming from. As always, guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton, and if you're brand new here, hit the red subscribe button down below as we head towards 500,000 subscribers. And we're going to start today with Jump Rope Challenge. This, of course, was that app that was released free on the eShop and was developed by Nintendo developers who specifically wanted to be able to keep active at home. So they made a fun little game you could play where you would literally just count out jump rope jumps and all of that. And it was fun. I don't know. Like I said, it's free. Expectations weren't exactly through the roof for it or anything, but I think for what it is, it at least works. It gets you moving and all of that. And it looks like Nintendo has decided to lean into it just a little bit more, as they have now several little outfits you can get for your character. You can see here, a lot of them Nintendo themed, of course. We have Mario, Luigi, Peach, Toad, and I do like that they added in Samus, the Samus's outfit from Metroid. That's interesting because if you look around, you wonder, maybe they are working towards something Metroid related in the next year or two. We'll see about that one. This is just fun. I mean, it's not obviously a big time game for Nintendo. Like, they're not selling it right now, or I say right now, you never know, I guess, in the future, but for now, it's just kind of a fun thing. I like to see them leaning into it. It most likely was downloaded a lot, and they figured, hey, let's have some fun and add something in here. But yeah, go check it out. Like I said, Jump Rope Challenge is free, so why not? Also, Fallout fans were really excited yesterday because of an announcement, and I have to say, I'm not super into Fallout. Like, I enjoy the games, but to see this announcement, which you can see here by Bethesda, saying Amazon Studios has licensed the rights to the worldwide best-selling game franchise Fallout, with acclaimed producers Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy's Kilter Films attached to produce the project, currently in development with a series commitment. That's right. On Amazon, we're going to have a full series based around an adaptation of the Fallout game universe, the series. And that could be pretty cool, actually. Now, it's going to depend on how, of course, they adapt it and build out an entire storyline and characters around it, since that is a game where we go into and we can basically do whatever we want for the most part. I mean, a lot of people just go in there and the game breaks or whatever. Yeah, we of course make fun of the game quite a bit, specifically Fallout 76, but fans really go back to that series because they enjoy the world, the lore, and the story that they create inside of that world. So the fact that we can get the Fallout universe expanding further, especially into like a TV series, that could be pretty cool. Like, I would be really interested in watching through it on Amazon Prime TV or wherever they're going to put it, just to see how it turns out. So here's hoping they don't use the creation engine to make it. Oh, and I keep bringing up Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, mostly because I'm very hopeful. I'm crossing my fingers that it will be announced. We have that Ubisoft event, it was July 12th, and it's going to be like their own E3 event that I will not be streaming because hey, they just strike your channel if you stream any of their stuff, apparently. So I'll be skipping that one. But I will be watching, hoping that Scott Pilgrim vs. the World will be announced. And we had another little tease of a deleted tweet from Anamanaguchi. You can see it here. It was spotted by several people on Twitter, and they did screen cap it. It says, "It's me," and it shows the bottom edge of like a box art of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World with the Ubisoft logo. That's very strange. And the fact that they deleted it's even weirder. I'm not really sure what that's about, but of course we had that tease from Ubisoft. We're going into what, the 10th anniversary for the series and all of that. It does make you wonder if they have something planned for it. Could they bring back Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the video game, during their July 12th event and just shadow drop it? I hope so. That would be great. Even if it needs a little build up, sure, August or something, right? And do an actual physical release of it as well later on if you need to. I'd be on that immediately. So I'm going to cross my fingers. I'm going to hope that Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is actually going to be at the event. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're going to start right away with the price increase for the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X version of NBA 2K21. Now, 2K put out this chart here, and you can clearly see the different versions of the game. You have the Xbox One, the PlayStation 4, the Switch version, all at $60. And then you can see the regular PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X version at $70. And I'm sure this will also affect all different regions, whether it's in Canada or Europe or wherever else, that should see a price increase as well. Okay, so it is funny that it's 2K telling us about this, by the way, with a series that they have that just has so many microtransactions, they needed a slot machine to make sure everything was rounded out there, right? Because why not? Yes, this is a series that has been lamented at times because of the amount of grinding and microtransactions with currency that is included in the game, and it is weird that this is the one that tells us that price increases will happen seemingly going into next generation. Now, we did notice that on Best Buy, some games are just listed from that Xbox event that are designed for the Series X at still like $60. Scarlet Nexus, I believe, is one of them. So it's not going to be every single game that's going to be at $70, at least starting out, at least for now. We'll see, because if this becomes more normalized and accepted, yeah, you're going to see everyone, all these companies that would normally have a $60 game, I think move up to $70, because why not, right? Now look, games are becoming more expensive to create, marketing budgets have been ballooning, and we haven't increased prices in 15 years, at least at face value. Games have actually made more and more money now because of loot boxes, microtransactions, all of that. Seriously, I mean, we're to the point now where you see these companies measuring by like monthly active users and all this, because that's where their money is. Not necessarily selling you the game up front, but getting you to continue putting money in. Think of FIFA, think of NBA, right? We got to the point where the government got involved because it was getting a little out of hand with EA at one point. And now we're seeing that same type of game go up to 70. Now, I will say, yes, some games probably do have to go up to 70 based on how much it costs to make some of these. And you know what? There have been times where I've bought a game at $60 and I've said, you know what? I played this game for 50 or 60 hours. I think I got a good deal at $60. I'm fine with that. And I probably would have paid 70, right? Like, there are games where the special edition comes out and you buy the special edition for $100. Some special editions are $300 now. So when you go up $10, that doesn't seem as big of a deal, but it's very dependent, to me anyway, on the game that's doing that. Because if I buy a game for 70 and I was told that the price has to go up because these games are getting more expensive, and then there's like all these extra things, a $10 experience booster in Assassin's Creed, as an example, that game was basically $70 for a lot of people. Will that experience booster be there? Or will they'll just fix the experience curve in the game, right? Yeah, so that's kind of where I am with that. I don't mind the price increase if that means that the games will continue to get better and better quality-wise, and it makes sense. So we'll see how all this goes down. I've also seen a lot of people bring up the idea of older games, specifically like Super Nintendo or Nintendo 64 or Genesis games, being much more expensive than what we deal with now, where those were like $80 or $90, but a lot of that has to do with just the overall cost to create those cartridges. When we moved to CDs and disc-based mediums, everything became a lot cheaper. That's why, for example, Chrono Trigger was like $80, and then all of a sudden Final Fantasy VII was $50. Keep in mind, it also seems to make the subscription services seem much more worthwhile. Like, let's say next generation games are 70, Game Pass makes more sense, especially if it sticks around that pricing, doesn't it? Because then you're like, oh, well, I don't have to spend, I don't care if the prices are going up, I have Game Pass for Microsoft's games. Maybe PlayStation Now does something similar. We'll see how all this goes down, but there's still the question as well of, what do we do with the whole smart delivery thing? Do we have to spend $10 more because we bought a $6 game going up to the Series X version to get like all the bells and whistles and enhancements of the next gen It's so weird. Like, it is so confusing right now, and we'll see what other companies announce this. I will tell you now, if 2K is announcing it, EA is going to announce it next week at this point. So expect that, and we'll see which first party between Microsoft and Sony announces that next as well. Next up, let's talk about these July Nintendo Direct rumors. They have been circulating now over the past I'm gonna say like 48 hours or so, they've really picked up steam, and I thought we'd go over them here before it gets a little too crazy out there and we don't even know where it's all coming from, right? So Jeff Grubb did tweet out updating his Summer Games mess. You can see some of that here, but then below that, there was a response that seemed to get people asking questions, and that is from Kelios, and he says, they say you forgot Nintendo Direct in July. Now, Kelios is interesting because they had pointed out when that Direct Mini would be, like in February, like before like everybody, right? They named the date, they said, this is when that Direct's gonna be. And that Direct just shadow dropped, right? That was the Mini, of course, that came out. No one really expected it. It got down to like 0 hour. Jeff Grubb was holding on, and then they dropped it, right? And it was like, okay, yeah, it was a Mini, and it was just going to be put out there without any prior announcement. But Kelios had known about that a while ago and just kind of threw it out there like, oh yeah, it's happening. This is a similar thing here. And there have also been others like John Harker on Reset Era that's been brought to my attention that also mentioned the idea of a July Direct. And now here we are. Is this finally when Nintendo is going to make a move and announce something? We're going up to Paper Mario. There's nothing after that. Do they announce stuff before then? There were some thoughts previously as well about a Mario Direct. We had talked about this on the podcast quite a while ago about Nintendo showing up, of course, with their big blowout anniversary for Mario at the end of this year, but maybe putting something out with a Mario Direct where they have the Mario Collection, 3D World, right? You talk about some of the little extra things they have like the Legos and all of that, and that's their Direct there. Maybe you throw Pikmin 3 Deluxe in as an extra thing. It's very possible. What it's really going to come down to is, can Nintendo get everyone back together after the situation that was going on where they're quarantined due to COVID and all this, and everyone was out of office and working remote? Can everyone get together and put together a Direct that can then be aired later on this month? And you know what? I think it is very possible. I will say that. It might sound crazy because we haven't had a Direct since September. It's been a while. But looking at the rest of this year, I'm sure Nintendo wants to start announcing some of these games going into the holiday, and Animal Crossing has brought the Switch very, very far, and we're about to talk about that, how well it's done actually in Japan, but looking at it, they still want to paint a picture for the holiday, and you never know, they might have some surprises, we'll say, okay, that have not been announced yet, that should have already been announced. So even me, I'm looking at this and saying, well, when are they going to announce that game? Is this going to be another Paper Mario where they announce it in July and it comes out at like the end of August or beginning of September? Because there are games that they need to announce like soonish. So either a Twitter announcement or it gets thrown in a July Direct. We'll see here soon, hopefully. But like I said, Kelios has been onto some things there with some pretty good sources. So that's really the big reason why these July Direct rumors are swirling right now. And I think it's actually possible. Next up, let's talk about Animal Crossing, specifically in the Famitsu sales charts, because Animal Crossing hit a massive milestone, something that no other Switch game has been able to do. It really shows just how strong the Animal Crossing sales are everywhere, but definitely in Japan at retail. So let's go over to the top 10 for the past week in Famitsu. You can see right here, it's Animal Crossing at the top, 70,552, having it pass 5 million copies sold at retail in Japan. It is the first Switch game to do that. And by the way, that is significantly more than pretty much any other Switch game behind it. Think of like Pokemon Sword and Shield, sold really, really well, right? That is just about 1.4 million units more than Pokemon Sword and Shield. And Animal Crossing, of course, came out in March. So it has not had as long on the market there either. Ring Fit Adventure below that, Clubhouse Games 51, and then we also have Last of Us Part 2, which had an 85% drop. That is more than I thought it would, to be honest, at 25,993. That game may fall out of the top 10 very, very quickly. Like, it might just take 3 or 4 weeks for that to just be gone. Remnant from the Ashes there at 5. Brigandine, hey, that's not bad at 6, to be honest, at 15,000 copies. That's pretty good. And then Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at 7, Pokemon Sword and Shield 8, Splatoon 2, and then Mr. Driller Drill Land did sneak its way into the top 10 with 6,661 copies. Now, if we jump over to hardware, the Switch was at the top, 93,799. By the way, that does push the Switch itself, just in Japan, past the 14 million mark. That is very good, but keep in mind, it is still over 10 million behind the 3DS. However, I do think it will sell 3DS-like numbers in its lifetime, Japan before it's all said and done, so we'll see how long it takes for them to make up that ground. The PlayStation 4 at 7,801 copies, the 3DS at 944, and they somehow found about 40 Xboxes to sell that week in Japan. So I had just talked about how Animal Crossing was very, very strong, specifically in Japan. These are impressive numbers. Look, I don't know if it'll catch Mario Kart 8 Deluxe overall, but Animal Crossing is, it's basically Nintendo's biggest IP specifically now in terms of sales figures. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is right there with it. Think of Zelda, think of like regular Mario, like 3D Mario, any of that, Pokemon, it's Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing is the biggest seller for Nintendo, flat out. It worked very well with the Switch's audience, which blows me away why EA has not brought The Sims over after seeing these numbers, but hey, Animal Crossing still cruising along, even topping Famitsu's sales charts here, just even though it's been out for months, but there you go. We'll see how much farther it can go in Japan now that it's crossed 5 million units. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about EVO Online, as it has now been canceled. This follows a serious allegation that was placed against Joey Kuehler on Twitter that he later came out and apologized for, admitting it. And at that time, in like the span of 24 hours or so after the allegations were placed online, he was removed as CEO and EVO Online was just canceled. Now, let's go over to a tweet here from Slasher, who did a very good job summarizing everything and then also putting the statement below. Following Capcom, NetherRealm, Bandai, and several dozen high-profile FGC players, casters pulling out of EVO, EVO Online has now been canceled and Mr. Wizard will be removed from the company entirely. Quote, going forward, Tony Cannon will act as CEO in this position. He will take a leadership role in prioritizing greater accountability across EVO, both internally and at our events. Progress doesn't happen overnight or without the bravery of those who speak up against misconduct and injustice. We are shocked and saddened by these events, but we are listening and committed to making every change that will be necessary in making EVO a better model for the stronger, safer culture we all seek. As a result, we will be canceling EVO Online and will work to issue refunds for all players who chose to purchase a badge, and we will donate the equivalent of the proceeds as promised to Project Hope. So, obviously, EVO Online was already kind of like, because it's EVO, they're playing fighting games online, but these are some pretty serious allegations against Joey Kuehler, who then, of course, admitted it and apologized online. So, obviously, when all of these different game companies like Bandai and NetherRealm and Capcom start just saying, yeah, we're not going to participate in EVO, and then several high-profile players and casters do the same thing, you're not left with much of an event anyway. But yes, Joey Kuehler being removed makes the most sense, had to be done, and I guess maybe next year we'll see what happens with EVO at this point, and see if it can come back and be EVO that everyone was really looking forward to. It was gonna start in just a few days, but I don't know how sold on it they were really in the first place, just to be honest. It just, to them, it probably makes more sense. Okay, yeah, let's just cancel it and move on to next year. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Elvis saying, I'm still pretty excited for Crysis on Switch. Nintendo mismanaged Metroid Prime 4 and Doom Eternal has all but disappeared from existence. I'll be happy to get at least some good first-person sci-fi content. Yes, while people talk about how great of a tech demo Crysis is, it is a very good game. Like, a lot of people don't talk about necessarily how good of a game it is. It's like 10 hours long, but it's $30 for the remaster, and I think it was a lot of fun at the time, despite the graphics being the big thing that was really put first and foremost. I mean, it stressed your system. It was a great benchmarking tool, but the overall game itself was a lot of fun. In the trailer, they showed a twist that kind of happens, I think, midway through. Maybe if you weren't paying attention or you didn't know the context, it really didn't spoil it for you, but the game itself is a lot of fun. And like you said, Metroid Prime 4 probably won't come out at this point until end of 2021, maybe 2022, and Doom Eternal just disappeared on the Switch. So, hey, next up is Crysis. Hopefully it doesn't take that much longer to come out. Like, hopefully it's like mid-August or something that it hits, but we'll see how long they need to, I guess, polish the game. We'll see. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button, it really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it's the July Direct rumors. What do you think about that? Could we have a Mario Direct? Could we have a full General Direct? What do you think about that, just in July, to get people really excited for the rest of this year? And then what about price increases around next generation games going from 60 to 70? Does that make sense to you in terms of, oh, it's been 15 years, inflation, all that? Or do you see all of the microtransactions out there and you wonder, do they need that $10 jump for something like NBA 2K21? Thanks guys for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time for Newswave.